Alright, I haven't made a video in a while, so I figured I would make a quick one about making eyes in zBrush. And when you make an eye in CG, you'll usually have 2 to 3 parts, depending on the complexity of your character. You might just have one if it's something simple, but usually you'll have something like the iris and sclera into one piece of geometry, the pupil into another, and then the cornea into a third piece. Or you can combine the iris, pupil, and sclera into one piece and have the cornea as a separate piece. So when I'm making a character in zBrush, I like to make the iris part so I can kind of visualize what the final look of the character will be like. Because trying to make a character like this is kind of weird. You don't know how to shape the eyes. So it's useful to have your eyes in your sculpt. So what I usually do is append or insert, doesn't really matter. I just figured this out actually, so I'll explain it. Append adds a subtool to the end of your list here, and insert adds a subtool to wherever your current selection is. So I would probably want it right here. So I will insert a sphere, and of course it's way too big. And then I'll just scale down. That's rotate. Alright, just get kind of close. And we're only going to worry about the right side for now, and then we'll mirror it. And it's also you still have the eye geometry there, so you can shape the eye socket correctly. Because if you don't have it here, you could totally create your eye socket incorrectly, and then you'll have problems down the road. So at this point, you can kind of see the geometry here, so you can use that to help you line it up. Just imagine like this is where the iris will be. And just get in the general spot for now. Okay. So now that we have it in the general spot, we can solo it, get it on its own. And I'm going to use the mask brush. By the way, I like to turn dynamic off on my brush. It lets you get that fine detail, depending on the size of your mesh. And I'm going to turn focal shift to -100 on my matte brush. And for this part, I probably don't want to be solo actually. I'm just going to mask where my iris will be. So it'll be something like that. So now we can solo, invert our mask, and now I'm going to flatten this area with the flatten brush. By the way, how I'm selecting brushes is with hotkeys. B opens up the brush drawer, I guess. I don't know what the fuck it's called. And then you press the letter of the brush, and that kind of narrows your selection. And then there's another hotkey, A, for flatten. So I'm just going to flatten this out. So it's kind of like that. Then I'm going to use my standard brush, and Alt is inverse. I'm going to give it a little bit of a dip. Then I'll smooth it out a little bit. So. And then maybe where I want the pupil to be, I will raise it up like that. And it's kind of weird because the geometry's low res, but that's okay. So now we have this, we can start doing some colors. I find that toy plastic works pretty good for eyes, so I'll usually do that. Select mRGB, and let's select the base color for eye. And if you go with color and fill object, that will just enable poly paint. It's a quick little shortcut. And we want to turn Z add off. Okay, so that's our base color. And to start getting some iris detail, we can use this alpha right here. It's this alpha 58, which is pretty useful. And just start selecting some alternate colors and making a circle pattern. And that'll just give you some nice detail. If you want, you can subdivide it to get more detail, but I usually find that that's enough detail because you usually won't be viewing the eye close up. So after you got something like that, you can get a black brush, which is standard, and do the pupil. Be about right there. And then turn your RGB intensity down to something like 10, and just kind of darken up these edges. So that looks pretty good, and maybe darken up around the pupil too. Okay, that's looking pretty good. And maybe I went like a little bit too far in with the geometry, so you can always push it out with the move brush. So that's a little bit better. You can unmask it, and now you have an eye. So when we unsolo it, it'll look something like this. And there's two ways to duplicate it across. One way is to use the move tool and control left click to duplicate or extrude on this middle selection thing. I don't know what it's called. And then you just hold control and shift and move it over. And you just kind of eyeball it. Like right there. And then if you press X to turn mirroring on, now you can kind of move it uniformly to get the position that you want. So I think something like that's about good. If you want it to be perfect though, you can always duplicate the subtool. Select the new subtool, go with deformations, and click mirror. And that'll give you a perfect mirror. And then you just go ahead and merge the subtool. Like that. And that's pretty much the same thing. I think that using the smooth tool is a little bit quicker though, and it doesn't have to be perfect. So that's how I create eyes in zBrush. It's a good way to visualize the final look of your character within zBrush without having to model the eyes in Maya, having to open Maya and spend all that time doing that, or 3ds Max or whatever you use. I was going to do some other tutorial, but I forgot what it's going to be about. Anyways, I'll probably be posting more videos in the future. I should have some free time to work on some of my rigs and my auto rig. So stay tuned for that, and thanks for watching.